what I would suggest is just go through these things that okay, yeah, this is super important.
Yeah, 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 I got that. I did that things.
Okay, so anyway,
There are
we'll get into this.
I have noted some things which I don't understand. Let me ask you. Like, what is the difference between IFR and VFR? I didn't get that thing. It is on page number
Right.
11 of controlled airspace.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, the same.
Okay, so basically IFR is instrument flight rules, and VFR is visual flight rules. Uh, the easiest way to explain it, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you able to see this photo?
Yes. Okay, visual.
All right, and this one. So basically, in VFR, which is visual flight rules, you are not you're flying about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 feet above the aerodrome level
Yeah.
on a day where there are no clouds. That means all the flying that you're doing is done with respect to your visuals of the runway, which
Mhm.
means that throughout your flight, you are not losing track of runway. Runway is always in sight.
Yeah.
That is the VFR, visual flight rules. Now, for
Okay.
example, if we convert it to, let's say, a cloudy day or landing during fog, be it early in the mornings at Delhi or other places, or basically any time in Delhi because of smog,
Yeah.
where you are not able to maintain visuals with the runway.
Yeah.
There,
Right.
that becomes IFR. So what IFR is, you are relying only on your instruments. Instruments here are your altitude, your partly
Altimeter
your
camera.
yeah, most of them, but mostly the altimeter and your vertical speed. What it is, will come into it a little later. For now, I think this should be sufficient.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Okay, there are also these terms QNH and QFE. Uh,
We'll come into that a little later because
okay,
that is a very confusing aspect.
no worry.
So no worries, we'll go ahead with it step by step.
Yeah.
See, let's try to do at least one chapter a day.
Yes.
So
Sure.
there are 24 chapters. So in about 20 days, we should be done with it.
Okay.
All right.
Fine. Ready.
Okay, we'll start with this for today.
Chapter two.
Actually, yeah, actually, if possible, we can even meet up in person and then study.
Yeah, it could be in library or somewhere else.
Okay.
You say.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the main basis of aviation and all the rules about aviation start from the Chicago Convention. By far one of the most important. The historical background, this I leave it to you to read as a
Yeah.
story.
Okay.
Again, Second World War is all of this is the story until here. Oh, and before that, can you pronounce ICAO?
IKO International Convention. Um,
No, no, leave the what do you say full form. Just
okay,
get the
International
pronunciation
Civil
right.
Aviation Organization. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So just
IKO.
pronounce it
Okay,
like this.
IKO.
ICAO.
Okay,
Exactly.
IKO.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, so the Chicago Convention is basically where all the comprising countries and nations met to
Mhm.
figure out, basically to set up standard practices for aviation. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the principle here, this forms an important point which can come as a question that every state has a complete and exclusive. One second. One second.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the principle says that every state, like for example, India, uh, okay, if we just assume that this is India,
Mhm.
something like this, the Indian airspace is going to be about this much, and is going to go up in height as well, like infinite.
Oh, oh, infinite.
So that is the Indian airspace. Correct.
Okay.
Now just read the line that I've highlighted.
Uh, okay, accepts the principle that every state has complete and exclusive sovereignty over the airspace above its territory and provides that no scheduled international air service may operate over or into the territory of a contracting state without the state previous consent. Okay, so means it will require the permission of that aerodrome of that country to fly over there, them.
Perfect. So the airspace of India belongs to India, and no airline and
Okay,
no other
but
aircraft can actually enter the airspace unless
yeah,
it has been granted permissions.
yeah. But what
Like you
in
would
the
have,
case of the border? Means if two countries are meeting at a border, and
right, right.
as you make that diagram, so the airspace was covering more than the country's uh, border.
Yeah. So what it does around the bordering areas, highly likely that you will get a chance to reach the border only if you have clearance to go into the next country on a practical side.
Okay, okay.
Now, if you have permission, like for example, let's take Rajasthan, and over Rajasthan, Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
So a flight from Rajasthan is going to Pakistan. Just a second. So this is India. This is say Pakistan,
Okay.
and the airspace is somewhere here, the center line. If your
Mm-hmm.
aircraft is here, by default, it has gotten permission to go to Pakistan, because the moment you are somewhere here, you're in Pakistan, you're able to talk to Pakistan ATC, and in this area, you're able to talk to Indian ATC.
Indian ETC.
There is always a superimposition,
Got it, got it, got it.
and how countries deal with it comes in with the further, what do you say, rules and all the other conventions which followed. Because right now we are still around 1960s.
Mm.
Okay,
The convention was in
right. So,
1977, 7 December.
huh. Okay. So again, one more thing: the years are not too important.
94. Yeah. Okay, just for the
Okay.
memory, I just keep it 7 December
Yeah. Yeah.
1944.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the principle was that Indian airspace belongs to India, and you need permission to get into it. Now, led to the adoption of practices, blah 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 blah. All of this is not really required. This is the principle.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically what started the you can say, like how the constitution was formed. It had a couple of key points. Key, we need to address this. These are the key points which the Chicago Convention did address. Blah 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 blah. Not really required, but a couple of things you can do it. I think this answers your question. So the
Yes,
application of national law is only applicable to the territory over which the state has jurisdiction. Huh. So it is limited laterally but unlimited vertically. Blah blah blah
limited
blah. Huh.
laterally. Okay, because of the border.
Laterally is basically lengthwise.
Yeah, yeah,
Like for
yeah, yeah.
example, if I'm walking from here till your house, I'm walking laterally.
Yeah,
If I'm going from here to the fifth floor, I'm moving vertically.
vertical. Yeah.
Hmm.
And-
So I think this answers your question. The airspace of Switzerland is defined because the country is landlocked.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
However, for UK and India, limit is defined by limit of territorial waters.
Yes.
So there is a, yeah. So one thing about aviation is aviation has sort of been derived from shipping. So there is a lot of similarities between how ships work and how aircrafts and all, at least on the,
Sorry,
like
did I lost you?
every time.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Sorry, I thought I lost you.
Okay, okay. Yeah, in case that happens, let me know. I'll give you a call on WhatsApp
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there is some issue with the net.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So basically, all the demarcations with regard to shipping, all the territorial waters, like for example, I believe 25 nautical miles from the coast of India,
Mm-hmm.
that much area belongs to India, where the navy patrols and things like that.
Yeah.
Ahead of that, you have international waters. So same thing is used for aviation as well.
Okay, so international
High
airspace
seas
and
again.
territorial
Yeah,
airspace again.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to just go through this once
Yeah, yeah, I will.
because these are just definitions and not really important from examination point of view, but you need to understand it.
Okay.
Okay, this is super important.
Cabotage.
Cabotage, cabotage, however you want to pronounce it, it's absolutely fine.
It's rhyme
I
with
go with
sabotage?
cabotage. No, it's cabotage.
Okay.
It is exactly what this definition means: transport of goods as well as passengers.
Oh, okay, okay. 2 points. Same country.
Yeah. Uh, okay, yeah. For now, you can assume it's same country, but it allows what do you say? We'll come into that. I don't want to confuse you.
Okay.
What is facilitation? Understanding it is important. So this I leave it to you again.
So I will
Blah
just
blah
mark
blah
it.
blah. Yeah, yeah. Or I'll just share the marked PDF. That's
Yeah,
easier.
that will be easy.
Okay, now coming to the important part. Memorize this diagram somehow.
Okay.
So you have the assembly, which is on top. Below that comes the council, where 33 members are elected by the assembly. Assembly is basically all of the countries. The council further has committees and commissions. For example, there is a committee which was set up to figure out how international travel can happen post COVID. So it's a committee,
Okay, okay, okay. All
and this
the
is the secretariat
decisions are made by the committees.
committee, which is then projected to the council,
Council.
then approved by the assembly.
So,
Okay, okay, not too important. All of these, I mean, what it does. Hmm. Regional offices again is not required. Hmm. You have to mug up these things. What it
okay.
is. Um, each of this forms one chapter here in Oxford book. All right.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
share one small YouTube video. In a very wonderful way, he'll explain how to mug it up. In about 15 minutes, you'll be done.
Okay.
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 Second comes pans. What is SARTs? It is mentioned above. I think on the previous page. Just figure out what it is.
Okay. Sounds.
SARTs and PANs. PANs Ops document 8168. Procedures for air navigation services and aircraft operations. They are going to frame weird questions. Wherever you hear PANOps, this is the documentation that we have to be concerned with.
Okay. 8 1
Okay?
6 8.
Yeah, exactly. And PAN's ATM document 444. Again, not too important. All of this isn't required right now. This will come in during RT.
Excuse me.
All right. Now we come to the important topic, which is freedoms of air. Why don't you read this?
The internationals from there.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
International Air Services Transit Agreement established two technical freedoms of the air, known as the first and the second freedom. In this context, the word freedom refers to the privilege conferred by virtue of signatory status to a bilateral agreement. Because the two agreements require bilateral understanding between the parties, ICAO
Okay,
has
just one
produced.
second, I'll stop you.
Yeah.
Yeah, one second. Sorry for interrupting. So basically, after the Chicago Convention, any decision that has to take place is done with bilateral agreements. Bilateral agreements is basically India and China have to agree on something. So they both sign on that document. It becomes a bilateral agreement.
Yeah.
You would have seen right now that uh, this bubble agreement, which has come out because of the pandemic between India and other countries.
Not sure. I'm not aware of that, but
Okay,
I'll check it. But
yeah,
yeah,
right
I
now,
know about the bilateral agreements of
yeah,
between.
yeah. So that is how it is. Every single decision here where two or more countries are involved, it requires a bilateral agreement.
Okay. Only then that agreement will come into the play.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's all remaining. Not too important right now. Now there's something that was established called freedom.
Single free.
So the first freedom is basically the privilege to fly. Now we studied that okay, all the land above India is basically Indian airspace. You cannot enter without taking any permission.
Permission.
You can
Yeah.
enter only after taking permission.
Right.
However, in the interest of commercial aviation, many a times you have countries. Let's say there is a flight going from China to Sri Lanka.
Okay.
No matter what it does, it has to cross India.
Okay.
If it does not want to cross India, it has to cross Singapore and take a different
Yeah.
tour. Now, globally, there are about at any point of time there are at least 12,000 aircrafts in the air. Now, if every aircraft has to call up the country to take permission,
Mhm.
लोगों का दिमाग खराब हो जाएगा.
Right.
So,
And it will be hard to
ICAO
maintain all the record also. No?
exactly, and up if there are at any given point of time, like even now there will be about 12,000 aircrafts in the air. That means every minute, see, you have about 24 hours in a day. Let's
Right.
take 20 hours of flying. You're getting about 12,000 into 20. Those many phone calls from different countries for each of their flights. So
For
the
each.
ICAO convention, yeah. So the ICAO actually set up a couple of, let's say, rules which are sort of understood. If you become a part of ICAO, you have to agree to those rules. It's like, for example, if you're
Okay.
joining a club,
Yeah.
there are
Just one time
certain
agreement.
rules that you automatically agree. Yeah. Now those are called degrees of freedom. So the first freedom is the privilege to fly across territory of another participating state without landing. That
Okay.
means the aircraft that leaves from China can pass through Indian airspace, fly over India without landing in India, and reach Sri Lanka. No special permission needs to be taken. Now, don't get confused between permission to enter a country and filing a flight plan and all of that. Those two are totally different things.
Entering means
Okay.
at the end, if China wants to land on the India's land, so
Yeah.
India need to give the permission first.
I'll get back to that.
Okay.
Now, the second freedom is the privilege to land in a participating state for non traffic purposes.
Oh,
Non traffic is basically no passengers, no cargo, nothing. You're stopping for, let's say, some maintenance. Let's talk about the
okay,
same aircraft
emergency.
which has left from China. is flying over India to reach Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, it has developed some technical issue. It can land in India without taking any permission from the
Okay.
government. Basically, permissions are from the government. It needs to talk to the ATC, explain that it is in distress. Second, freedom gives them the privilege to land in any participating state for non-traffic purposes. So the aircraft can land anywhere, buy fuel, undergo the repair, and then carry on. However, it cannot land without permission for passengers to get down or goods and things like that.
Okay.
For that, you need permissions, which again comes on the things like passport, this, that, all of
Yeah.
those things. Now, the commercial freedoms. The third freedom is the privilege to put down in another state traffic taken on in the state of registration. Third degree of freedom is, yeah, this is basically you have taken off from, let's say,
One second,
China,
Shashwat,
or
can you
here
take
they've
that call?
given US.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you getting disturbed from the traffic noise?
Oh, no.
Is it too loud?
No, no, it's perfectly fine.
Okay, okay. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So third degree of freedom is basically, as long as the bilateral agreements are made, and the visa is granted, you can transport passengers. That is what this line means. While the bilateral agreements are there and subjected to inter-government negotiations, which third degree of freedom is basically, if my passengers have a valid visa and passport and all of that, they can get down from they can get down in India if they're coming from China. Things like that. Normal tourism, basically. The fourth freedom is the privilege to take on in another state traffic destined for the. Okay, this is basically an airline of China, let's say Cathay Pacific, landing in Nagpur, picking up passengers, and then going back to China. This is the fourth degree of freedom. These two are different from first and second because these two are subjected to bilateral agreements and intergovernment negotiations, which is basically your visa process, etc., etc. All right.
Yeah, yeah, completely understand.
Okay. I think this is the continuation of that. Just read it out.
Yeah. The privilege for an airline registered in one state, example UK, and en route to or from that state to take on traffic in a second state, example Greece, and put them down in a third state. Okay, means it will the flight will fly from UK, it will go to Greece, it will then put or take the again people or cargo and then again fly to the Italy. So
Perfect.
two
Basically,
jumps.
it's a Indigo flight leaving Bangalore,
Hmm.
going to Dubai, and then going to Abu Dhabi, and then coming back.
Yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
Blah 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 blah. All of this is not required. Huh, these are important. The conventions.
Tokyo
So the
Convention.
Tokyo Convention, it deals with the offenses and acts committed on board.
Okay. On board means when the flight is in the air.
Yes. So there is a rule because of the Tokyo Convention and the other following conventions. Once the aircraft takes off, the captain is the main,
In
what you
charge.
say, in charge.
Leader. Yeah.
तो जो इंडिया में होता है ना कि some politician is creating a ruckus and things like that, the
Uh,
captain has the authority to kick him out of the aircraft, and it has happened several times.
okay. Kick him out means literally the meaning means throw away from the flight
Yeah,
in the air.
yeah,
Oh my
not
God.
in the air, man.
Means
Um,
okay.
but in case, for example, some passenger, starts, ये बहुत होता है, starts disturbing the cabin crew, maybe
Yeah.
starts fighting with another passenger or is trying to harm someone,
Uh,
the captain can has the authority to tie him up,
okay, okay.
declare an emergency landing, land wherever, whichever airport is closer, and hand over that passenger to the police.
Okay, okay. Got it. Got it. Got it.
So that is what this means. Later on, you can read this in detail.
Yeah.
Then the Hague Convention, blah blah blah. This basically resulted
Least
after a lot of
hijackings.
hijacking.
Hmm.
So this gets activated in case there's an unlawful seizure of the aircraft. Okay, Hague Convention again not too important. Now moving on to Montreal Convention.
Okay.
Basically, Montreal Convention and Hague Convention add to what the Tokyo Convention had started. So these three can be very confusing. So any acts of violence on board which endanger the people and property, any destruction of the aircraft causing severe damage, which basically means if you sort of light a piece of paper on fire while on board an aircraft,
Yeah.
they can arrest you based on this.
Okay.
And yeah, that should be sufficient. This you can just read, not too important, otherwise you'll get confused. Blah blah blah. Okay, annexure 17 deals with security.
Subs
You're there?
again. Again. Yeah, yeah. I'm here. I'm.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Again, a couple of points that you can read. Again, not important, not important, not important. Oh, wait, actually, this is important. Just the last three.
The authority of the commander. Okay. Means
Yeah.
the pilot.
Captain,
Captain.
not the first officer, the captain.
Oh, okay. And what if the captain is means uh, he is not in conscious? So the first officer has the
Then the
charge.
first officer.
Okay. And what if
Whoever,
first
so we
officer
have,
is?
yeah,
Sometimes there are three pilots, no, in the plane.
right. So it depends on who is the pilot in command. That is sort of declared before the aircraft takes off.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Liability of the carrier, blah, 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 blah. Okay. This again, read through it.
Okay.
Issue of ticket, you can just read through it. Rome Convention, just one line is sufficient.
Okay. With deal
For
with
example,
damage.
there's an aircraft from, let's say, China,
Okay.
which has unfortunately dropped something which has broken a house in India.
Okay. Okay. So that company has to pay for their family.
Exactly, exactly.
It had happened in
Okay,
the
now,
Mumbai, no?
yeah, yeah, it keeps happening actually.
Oh.
So now we have the IATA. What it is, you can figure it out.
Okay.
Read through. That's about it. This is not important. So don't bother reading this for now.
Okay.
So Oxford books are basically they have originated in what do you say, UK.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
they deal with more emphasis on JAA, the European Union, and all of that. For us, it's not too important.
Okay. Okay. Euro control
Not
agreement.
needed. Now we come to Geneva Convention. Mm, right. Now, for example, the aircraft that Indigo is using is basically leased by some company sitting, for example, Avalon, sitting in Spain. So the aircraft is basically registered in Spain, but it is operating for a carrier who's registered in India. So this
Okay.
convention basically takes care of double registration and how the registration should go about, what are the rules and regulations in terms of registering an aircraft.
Mhm.
Again, you can read through this. Summary, you can go through it at the end. Right now, if you jump into it, it might be a little confusing.
Yeah.
Moving on. Okay.
Questions.
So that takes care of this particular chapter. So this is exactly how the questions will be. What does cabotage refer to? Refers to what do you say? Domestic air
Within a
services, which
state.
includes
Yeah.
yeah, includes passengers as well as it includes our cargo.
Cargo.
Now, convention signed, damage caused by foreign aircraft to persons and property on ground,
Rome.
Rome Convention.
Yeah.
Conventions on offenses and acts committed on board. So
Tokyo.
this is Tokyo.
Yes.
Now, which of the following is an obligation of ICAO contracting states? This same line is there in the first paragraph of ICAO, which I had told.
Just wait.
Okay, this is the
Yeah.
answer. You'll find the same thing mentioned there.
Yes. Yes.
Which of the following annexes specifies the minimum for construction of aerodromes? It is Annex 14.
Okay.
Don't
That's
worry,
why
you'll
you
figure out
said
how to
I
remember.
should mug up this
Yeah,
annex.
yeah. So similarly, these are the questions. So what we'll do is we'll stop for now
Okay.
and just go through what was done today,
Yeah. Sure.
and without looking at the answers, tomorrow we'll sit and we'll solve the exercise, and then we'll do the couple of other chapters, and then you can
Okay.
also
Okay.
give me a feedback whether this is fine or you want me to teach you in a little different way,
No, no,
and
no.
then we'll
This is
take it
great.
forward.
An overview is required for me that what will be there in this chapter. So it will be great for me now to understand each and every paragraph.
Right.
So this is good.
So we'll continue this way. Today will just the first thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ठीक है?
Yes.
All right. Chalo,
Thank
fine.
you. Thank you
We'll call
so
it
much,
today
Ashwin.
because I'm hungry.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, me
most
too.
welcome. And every day we'll try to finish this off as soon as possible. All
Yeah,
right.
correct. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So
All right.
enjoy
Chalo.
your
See
dinner
you
and
tomorrow.
see you tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. You too. Bye.